You know, there's some games you don't want to play, and you especially don't want to play games in the church of Jesus Christ. In the book of 2 Corinthians, Paul has to defend his apostleship. And one of the things that was happening is false teachers had come into Corinth, and they were trying to get the people not to listen to Paul. They were trying to question his apostleship, and one of the ways they did that was by his presence. They kind of made fun of Paul. This is what they said in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 10. For his letters, say they, are weighty and powerful, but his bodily presence is weak and his speech contemptible. Now, what they're doing by saying that is they were in this Greek-speaking world that was very impressed with eloquence and with physical form. In other words, Paul wasn't a real handsome man. He probably wasn't real tall. He didn't have a lot of the characteristics that the Greeks found to be impressive and godlike. And they said that his speech was contemptible. He wasn't a good orator, a good public speaker. And so, because of this, they said, you know, you shouldn't listen to this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Now, isn't that funny? That's funny to me that the way a person looks and their mode of communication should mean that they don't know what they're talking about. Well, we see the same things in our day and time today. Matter of fact, we hear things like this. Well, so-and-so would make a good political candidate because he's so handsome. How foolish is that? I hear it all the time. Verse 11, he goes on, and this is what Paul says as he answers this. He says, let such a one think this, that such as we are in the word by letters, when we are absent, such will we be also indeed when we are present. In other words, everything we've written in those letters, we're going to enforce and back up whenever we get there. Paul's an apostle. He has authority within the churches to do this. But he goes on to say this, for we dare not make ourselves of the number or compare ourselves with some that commend themselves. Now, this is what the false teachers of the day did. They commended themselves. What does it mean to commend? Well, it means to praise publicly. So they spent a lot of time praising themselves, talking about how great they were. He goes on and says, but they measuring themselves by themselves and comparing themselves among themselves are not wise. They measured themselves by themselves. In other words, they looked around and they decided that guy's the most handsome, best speaker that there is. So we want to measure ourselves against him. Whoever the most popular speaker of the day was, that's who they all tried to be like. And they compared themselves with each other. Well, I'm better than this guy, and I can speak better than that guy. Therefore, I'm better than this one. So to commend themselves, to measure themselves against one another, and to compare themselves with each other. Paul says this is not wise. In the Christian life, it's never wise to praise your own self. We're supposed to humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God. In the Christian life, it's not about our how pretty we are or our eloquence of speech. It's about the message. We're messenger boys for the King. We're supposed to deliver the gospel to a world that's dying, that desperately needs to hear the truth of the Word of God. That's the message. If you're a good orator or if you just kind of tell it like it is, it doesn't make any difference. So Paul wasn't very impressive to these Greek cultural thinkers. But this is what Paul says about his message. He says in 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 8, for we can do nothing against the truth, but for the truth. And when it comes to measuring up, Paul never measured himself against other people. He says in Ephesians 4, till we all come in the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. If you're going to measure up, you need to measure up to Christ. You need to look to him. He should be the one that you want to measure up to, not another man. I just want to encourage you this morning. Don't commend yourself. Don't compare yourself. Don't measure yourself against others. Keep your eyes fixed on Jesus and tell the truth. God bless you. Hope you have a great day.